your eyes for a minute, close your eyes for a second.
Hi guys, welcome back to Poshcateyes Unfiltered, your favorite reality commentary catch-up or reality to-go channel. Whatever you like. Seriously, get your friends in here, subscribe, like, comment, and share. Now we are talking all things married at first sight. I cannot believe this. Is this season 13 or what? Unbelievable, guys. Season 13. Oh my god. This particular show is the trashiest and trashiest of TV. And viewers can't seem to get enough. I know it makes our lives actually feel better when you watch this train wreck of a show. Now, as you know, the first few weeks are all about the introductions, the first meets down at the altar, and the weddings, as well as the honeymoon. So we're going to get into the commentary for the first 4 episodes for this week. I just felt it was best to run this commentary this way because it gives me a little bit more in-depth preview of the hopefuls, of the desperados, if you want to call them that. Now, I do know, or you and I know, that this show is basically all about wannabe celebrities who want their 20 minutes of fame before they can head off to OnlyFans and profit on their 15 seconds of fame. So it is quite interesting that we do get all of the shenanigans in the quest for love. By the end of the day, it turns out that it's all made for TV entertainment. So without much ado, let's get into the first couple of matchups that happened. This actually hit home for me because this is the first time I'm actually having to see a Nigerian as a contestant hopeful. I am not sure what this guy's parents would have thought of him going on to the show to find a wife, because as you know, Africans were very traditional in the way we do things. And yes, civilization has happened to us and we have spread far wide, and so things had to sort of change. We have deviated from the typical Nigerian culture of actually finding a wife. But I'm going to give it to David. David looks the part. He is a wannabe rapper slash entrepreneur slash DJ and a Christian. Now, I do not know how all of this comes together, but David is, playing the part. He's a DJ, he's a rapper, entrepreneur, as well as a Christian. And so he's coming and hopefully looking for his good Christian girl on TV. Make that what you can. Guys, make that what you can. I don't know. So anyway, the expert decided we're going to match David up with Alicia. Alicia is a registered nurse, beautiful 33-year-old, and it felt good on paper. I am quite hopeful for these two couples. So David, very quickly, they first met on the aisle, and Alicia was like, ain't no way I'm going to let this guy have an easy pass. She decided she was going to terrorize him a little bit by having him go down on his knee to propose to her whilst they're about to get married. I don't know, say it's very old-fashioned, but Alicia wanted some type of nostalgic old-fashioned treatment to this particular first meet and altar type wedding situation. Whatever you call it, let's just humor her. At first, David was confused because he thought, okay, this is part of the prop. I might just have to play along and see where this takes me. But soon he quickly realized that old mate chick Alicia was very serious. She wasn't going to continue on if he didn't get down on his knee. Now, he was a bit reluctant at first. He eventually went down on his knees. And I was like, thank goodness, guys. Are we going to stick to this? And eventually they said their vows and their I do's. Now, David's vow is what I expect every Nigerian every Nigerian in Desperate to do. Because as we all know, there is a stereotype for the Nigerians. We have a bad rap, and that is the fact that we are the scam capital of the world. I don't know who made this up, but I guess David made a good joke out of it. Basically, he went on to say, you must have gotten my email. I am your Nigerian prince. I'm not here to take your money, but I am here to take your heart. It was I mean, like 5 days post this particular episode, I still remember this particular line word for word. It sunk right in, and very quickly it lightened the mood. They got married, and I guess David's friends were a little bit hesitant towards how strong Alicia is. And I think I actually like Alicia's strong demeanor. She comes up as very confident, and I want to give her that. She's a strong woman, and yes, I guess that's what David needs. And away they head on to the reception. A few introductory comments were made. David sought the advice of his friends who were again had the reservation going, but it's all on David to find out in due time. Now, whilst I don't want to comment on a lot of this couple or this wannabe celebrities, because at the end of the day, we get all of them, all the works, the ones with very low self-esteems, the ones who are here to become actors, the ones who are already actors in their previous life but just want to come on this platform to further promote their profile. So it's a bit hit and miss, but I don't know. With David and Alicia, I am keeping my fingers crossed for them. Now, we move on from this first matchup to the second matchup, and that is Rachel, who I felt sort of was about looking for a therapist, but decided whilst on the way to the therapist, she saw a casting call for Married at First Sight, and she was like, why not? I'm just gonna go here and ruin my self-esteem even further. Because that's exactly what Rachel is. Rachel hasn't been in love for the last 14 years. That's if she has ever been in love. I am not sure. She feels she's been down and out, and now Married at First Sight and the experts are her last bus stop in order for her to find her happily ever after. Now, you would think that the Married at First Sight experts would pity her and say, let's help this lady out by pairing her with someone who would, lift her spirit up and maybe increase or improve her self-esteem. No. What did they do? Pair her up with the same characteristics trait and obviously self-esteem issues guy, Steven. Now, bless his heart, Steven is a marine technician, and according to him, has swiped left, right, and hasn't received any positive feedback from the dating app. Basically, he feels he's not the typical guy that girls will, go for. He doesn't have the height, he doesn't have the looks, he doesn't have the charisma, he doesn't have the swagger. And so, again, he is scraping down the barrel, and here comes the expert to save the day. Another guy with huge self-esteem issues. I hate to say this is not a good matchup at all. Now, I am not surprised because right before they went on the aisle, you could just hear this girl laugh for days. Now, I wanted to say, I have a very big laugh. I laugh out loud. I laugh from my stomach. However, Rachel comes across as, I don't know. Is she laughing because she's not confident in herself? Is she laughing because she's trying to hide something? Because at the cues of laughter, it just comes. I'm like, what is going on? Cueing intentions and narratives for each laugh. They're not just going. Someone stamps their feet, she laughs really loud. Someone cries, she's laughing. Someone raises their hand and she's laughing, and I'm like, what's going on? This is beyond I am camera shy or I'm still trying to find myself. No, it was just weird ass. And guys, it got weirder because once they were in their honeymoon stay, it went downhill from there. And how did this come about? Apparently, she's a foodie fanatic, and she talked about how her dad would take her and the family to Melbourne, to watch foodies, and how fun she found it, and how should I say nostalgic she found it. And in the same breath, Stephen wanted to share in the banter and humor and fun, and so sort of made comments alluding to the fact that Okay, so you are one of those, are you one of those fans who will go rowdy, whilst the game is not in their favor, or do you really go out of character, or do you just go loud? And she said, "Oh, no, 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 I am not such. I'm not one of such." And before you could say Jack Robinson, she started crying. So it goes from this hyper laughing state to a complete meltdown. For what? I cannot tell you. Now, bless Stephen's heart, because during the wedding, she also had a thing because she didn't get any compliment from Stephen. And I'm like, here we go again. Like, what is this? She needed Stephen to say your dress is beautiful. Oh, well, Stephen has no social cue. That guy hasn't even been in love. I don't think he's even had a partner in the last 2 decades. So mate has no clue what's happening. He's just there for the food. Basically, he couldn't even have a conversation going. And poor Rachel wanted all of the fireworks to start at once. And so I think she just started picking and nitpicking, and it just went downhill from here. Do I see this working? Maybe if the expert decides to call in a psychiatrist, because a psychologist. Yes, that might help. But until then, this isn't going to work. Now, we move on from Rachel and Stephen to back to Alicia and David. I want to quickly say this because whilst they were in Mambula having their honeymoon, there was a bit of an incident. And this is during a spa bath, and David fell and hurt his knee. But guess what? Alicia is a nurse, and she came to the rescue to nurse her man back to health. So beautiful to watch. Again, like I said, I have my fingers crossed for this too, and I'm hoping that it goes well for them. Now, from this particular matchup, we move on to the next two matchup. And this is where it gets tricky for me, guys, because I am not sure what the expert was thinking. Now, we meet Mel, a very young 28, 20-something year old, who is looking for love. Now, I am not sure why she's looking for love, because according to her, her love comes in all colors and in rainbows. She's pink, like a Barbie. She's looking for her Ken, her blue, and hopefully they make purple babies or find purple colors in their love bubble. Now, you will think the expert would match her with the right color, right? That wasn't the case. Now, we meet Luke. Luke, the farmer boy, who, again, I'm pretty sure he's half of the entire day, or should I say 20 hours of the day, spent with farm animals. He, again, has absolutely no social cue as to what happens in the dating world. And so here he is looking for a wife. Now, I am not sure why he didn't go on Farmer Wants a Wife. Why come on this show? It got worse, because right at the start, for where they were going to meet, Luke forgot the wedding ring. And this then saw Luke going back, missing his opportunity to be first at the altar, waiting on Mel, the princess bride. And Mel didn't get her happy ending. The fairy tale story she had dreamt up in her head went out of whack. And Mel did not come back from this, because when she got to the altar, she arrived first. So she was the one waiting for her groom. Basically, that isn't what all fairy tale books have made us aware, because usually the man is at the altar waiting for the princess. Mel, the princess, was now waiting for Ken, her prince. And so when Luke, Ken arrived, Mel was over it. Like, it died even before it started. I guess there's a clause in the contract that says you must go through with the wedding, otherwise you will probably be sued. And so Mel just had to put up with it, because it just went downhill from here. There was no conversation. Luke tried, looked left, right, tried to apologize for, the whole change of the fairy tale scenario, but it fell on deaf ears, and it did not pick up from there, because Mel wanted no bow Luke. Luke was still trying to find himself out, or find a way out of the doghouse that he's put himself in, but there was no clear path. They went on a honeymoon. They tried to make pizza, trying to have conversation, even turned the rock, paper, scissors duo to scissors, paper, rock. And I'm like, where did these people come from? Mel couldn't hide her disdain for Luke. She was over it before it started. She, in fact, I feel like Mel is just waiting for the first reunion, couple commitment ceremony, so she can, search if there are other options on the table or on the chair before she makes her move to exit the show, because I don't see her staying long, but I might be wrong. The experts might pull a socks out of the bag, and these two might find their way back together, because right now, from my vintage point, there ain't no coming back from this wedding. It was a disaster because Princess Mel couldn't get the right order of her fairy tale story. We actually give Mel and Luke a break to find, I would say this is closest to the perfect match. Next will be David and Alicia, and this is just early days, guys. Please don't quote me yet. Gia, in walks Gia, the Princess Barbie, and her perfect man, Scott. Scott seems to be a very handsome guy, hardworking, knows what he wants. He's got the social etiquette down packed. He's got the business acumen going. He is a man's man. Now, Gia is sort of a princess, who, according to her, has all it takes to reel a man in. Now, on their profile, they wanted partners with very high sexual drive, and the expert delivered on this, because these two came in pretty much on the same page, in that this is who they are, this is what they're about, and go for it. And on the first meet at the altar, it was a picture perfect match in Barbie doll heavens for this two. Gia was happy, so was Scott. And I guess when the family even got together, they liked the dynamics. It was a good mix. Now, to start off, it wasn't all smooth and rosy down to the altar, because Gia sort of had this prima donna of a bestie friend of a bestie who, all I could get this guy cracked me up the entire time. He kept referencing things. I'm actually sleeping into him. I'm like, dog, slow dog. I'm like, what is going on? Now stop with the drama. But it made for good TV. There's always that friend who wants to do too much. They eventually had a fallout, and whilst that was simmering, Gia was busy getting her makeup and everything done. The best friend, on the other hand, decided he was going to go back and try and, make peace. Otherwise, he was going to lose his one-time opportunity to be on TV, and he wasn't going to miss that opportunity. Well, all became well in their haven before the wedding. And it was at the reception that Gia's family, I'm not sure, because according to Gia, she gave the family like an ultimatum not to spill the beans about the fact that she was a single mom, or she is a single mom. And so it was like they were all sworn to secrecy of sort. But Gia's uncle didn't get the memo, because when Scott's folks were trying to get to know Gia's uncle, and also indirectly trying to find out who Gia was, Scott pretty much spilled the bean. We all know Gia is a disability worker, because what they asked was, what does Gia do? All he could have said was, she's a disability worker. But the next thing he's like, oh, she's a homemaker, she has a daughter. I'm like, why? But you would have thought it was going to just go downhill from them. And I was so glad they were able to come out the other side. And Gia eventually got to share this particular personal secret of hers to Scott, who was, he took it on his stride. He said, I've dated single mothers before. It's not a problem, not the breaker for me. I like you. I like your vibe. I like what we have going. And let's see how this progresses. Safe to say, they are sort of, again, coming out strong for me. But this is early days. I do not know how this is going to progress, given the fact that there's a lot more thirsty matchups that are already on the threat. And so these women can then decide to flip the script, and it will go crazy. And this is all what the show is about, okay? There is the experts matchmaking and the wedding happening, and then whatever happens whilst these people are in the experiment is a whole other story. Now we move from this particular matchup to another crazy character, and I'm not sure what to tag this. Low self-esteem, unsure of herself, confidence issue, just all washed up. We meet 35-year-old Beck, who has had some body dysmorphia, is what we're going to use that word, and has rised onto the other side. She's risen above this, lost all the weight, is now looking better than according to her, better than she felt. And you would think this will make up for confidence boost, but she was just like a negative Nancy. I couldn't deal. Like, it started off well when we first saw her being introduced, but again, I'm not sure. But I can say she reminds me of a contestant from the previous season. And so I'm literally already calling her out as an actor. Okay. Her vibe and all of the way she displayed her antics just came across as someone who is playing a character. So I'm under the impression that she's acting, or she's here again, very performative for advancing her career outside of this show. So Beck was matched up with Danny. Danny is a British guy who has been in Australia for well over 13 years. And according to him, it's been hard to find love. Well, I'm not judging, but by the look of his the way he looks, he doesn't present well to me. But again, I can't really speak for the rest of us. I just didn't see anything that was grand about him. But I guess, this is always in the eyes of the beholder, yeah, I reckon. And so the matchup was a bit strange for me, because I don't understand how the expert decided we're going to match these two. Beck came across as very needy, and very quickly, right off the bat, it showed, because just after the vow taking, Beck had issues with the fact that he in his vows, he alluded to looking for someone that's going to bail him out of jail. And well, he was started up, so you would reckon he was a jailbird anyway. But Beck took that to heart and pretty much took her in the waterworks. She started crying. I'm not sure why he is going to jail. His friends are strippers. They have some, very colorful life, and she's not a party to that. But she's gonna try and see how this goes. Eventually, she was able to warm up to him, which then led to the next morning where they were pretty much getting ready to go on their honeymoon. And night one on their honeymoon stay, they became intimate. Now, again, I think it was very performative. Were they really intimate? I don't think so. I feel like this is all part of the storyline, okay? Because the way she described it did not come very natural. It came across as very forced, as very well intended to for the shock of it all. So we are, ooh, it happened. But I wasn't wowed. I just saw right through the antics of it, because right after that, old mates tuned off. He was no longer interested in trying to get to know her. There was pretty much no spark, according to Danny. He didn't feel a spark, but I guess when you hand the cookie too quickly, they pretty much, there's no longer any need to chase. And this is where Danny was pretty much, over the whole thing. And this saw Beck's spiral, guys, spiral. Everything became a chore. Danny looked left, it was a problem. Danny looked under his legs, it was a problem. An old lady would walk past, Danny would turn left and look, it was a problem for Beck. And this then just became the drama all around this particular whole scenario. Danny tried his best to reassure her that he was willing to give it a go and test how this worked, if there is anything to be salvaged from the fact that they are now considering themselves as friends after being intimate. I don't know. I don't know what to make of this guy, but it just feels like a lost cause. But if the experts can pull a straw, maybe this will be the talking moment for this season, and that is Beck and Danny. But at this point, from my vintage angle, it's not looking good for Danny and Beck. And hopefully, during the commitment ceremonies, things might change, or during the dinner party, things might change, or during the experiments, all the stuff that they'll probably put them through might turn around. But the first things that happen during the honeymoon stay is usually there is a box that sort of brings questions that are uncomfortable truths. And one of those questions, Danny was very honest. I don't find you attractive. I don't know how this is going to progress, if it's going to progress. But right now, from where I am from, there's really nothing going on. There's a lot more baggage than he can handle at this point. But we will see. Now we move on from Beck and Danny to another very skeptical guy, Chris. Now, Chris seemed like someone, he's 30, 30 years old, yeah. But he comes across as an old soul. I felt like he was just so bored. Probably he took long service leave off work, became very bored, and decided, what am I going to do? Now I'm going to apply on this very skeptical, crazy show, Married at First Sight. I don't trust the experts. I don't think they're experts anyway. But I'm going to give them the benefit of doubt and see what what surprise they're going to pull out from their surprise hats. And this is just him. He literally came off nonchalant, disinterested, but just willing to see how they were going to amuse him. And so sad, because the pairing seemed like some potential for love. And I am hoping that his attitude will change and this particular matchup will progress to something very, very magical. In walks a very beautiful model, Brooke. Now, Brooke is also looking for love, being heartbroken a few times. In fact, she's never had a relationship where she has not been cheated on. So she also has a few emotional baggages, which I don't know if that has impacted her self-esteem. We're also going to find that out. But let's just say at the altar, she wasn't impressed by what Chris was selling. Chris, on the other hand, was trying to act all tough, not interested. But when he saw what they served him, he was pretty pleased. And Brooke wasn't willing to take any prisoner. Pretty much put him in his place. Started with the first kiss, or we'll say the first peck. He didn't like it. His friends were pretty much laughing at him. That was, the first kick to the guts. His ego has been bruised to the point where he doesn't even know how to take it. But yes, was it bruised? Absolutely. But I guess Chris has to then grow and find out himself. Chris is here to find himself. Like I said, he took long service leave from work, got so bored, and decided, I'm going to do something crazy, apply a Married at First Sight. And this is what kicks me. How are the parents of these contestants coming on supporting their kids, knowing what the show is about? According to Chris, there is literally a 0.01% chance that we're going to have a successful matchup. So how the family supports them right through this train wreck of a show is really beyond me. And I would say admirable at best, because these parents come in with so much high hopes because they want their kids hit and happy. But I don't know. We've seen this show 13 seasons. The statistics is not enough in their favor. But who are we to judge? Like I said, just after the matchup, Brooke, washed this guy down and was like, I'm not playing, I'm not messing with you. You need to step up your game. Now, during the honeymoon, Brooke and Chris really got to discover a little bit more about themselves. And I'm pleased, again, this is another matchup that I am really having the high hopes for, that it will go the distance. Now, I've said 3. Scott and Gia, Alicia and David, Brooke and Chris. I am rooting for these 3 couples so far. Now, the final matchup for this particular week was a geriatric couple. Guys, don't kill me. Yes. Rich. Now, Rebecca is a beautiful 51-year-old woman who has not had, a lovely time with love, but she's got a beautiful son who she adores, now empty nesting, and decided this is the perfect time to find love. And in walks Steve, 50 years old. Like I always say, when the desired is not available, the available becomes desirable. This is the kind of matchup that happens when it comes to this geriatric silver fox age group matchup. Okay, now fingers crossed, these guys with their years of experience and maturity, they'll be able to turn things around with the group dynamics, especially because that's the most important time where they can navigate and share experiences, or also help the other young couples see things in a different perspective. Now, this is a beautiful matchup. There was no drama. Okay, Rebecca wanted a man with kids. Steve has got 3 daughters. Rebecca has one, and so they're looking for love, and they're looking for, I think, companionship. Most importantly, Steve is a businessman, comes across as a very nice guy, but I guess we're going to find out a little bit more about him, because there's no way this 50-year-old man has been hanging for that long and not been able to find a partner. Rachel, on the other hand, I can understand, because as a single mom, and so when you have a child, you don't want to introduce them to so many relationships, and then confusing them, or having them now at the age where they are comfortable, they are finding their own relationship. It's the best time to actually say, okay, I'm going to now explore love and see how and where that puts me. So I'm looking forward to Steve and Rebecca's matchup on the show. Again, guys, come on the comment section and tell me what you think. All these matchups, who are you already rooting for? Who do you think have got prospects to go the 9 yards? Again, I don't know. This is all new. Let's see what happens when this group come together, because that's where the fun starts. But again, there are a few more weddings that will be happening in the coming weeks, and I'm going to try and run the total commentary for you as a summary, not exactly doing it day by day. Again, thank you so much. If you have watched to this end, I do appreciate you being patient. I hope I got the names and details right, but if I don't, we'll probably correct them as we go when we run more commentaries and get to know this particular contestant or love hopeful better. But thank you so much, guys, for watching. I'll see you soon. Remember, you are deserving. Bye for now.